Us on this Sunday night, I'm Keely Van Middendorp. Starting with a first look at our forecast tonight. It's been a very windy first few days of fall. Our Grant Garland joins us now. Good evening, Grant.
Good evening, Keely, and oh my goodness, yes, I mean, we've seen several days where winds have been going at 30 to 40 miles an hour in certain locations, and today was not an exception at all. 25-mile-per-hour winds in Great Falls, 35 in Helena, 26 in Lewistown, 48 though in Glasgow, and 45 in Jordan. Currently seeing 60-mile-per-hour winds gusting in Great Falls and 21 in Helena, 27 in both Glasgow as well as Jordan. Now temperatures 62 in the Electric City, 61 in the capital, a little bit cooler in Lewistown at 56, and well, 64 degrees in Glasgow. Over the course of the day, we've seen clouds break apart, especially for those down south in Butte as well as Bozeman. Looking at a sunny day, allowing for the winds to also kind of kick up. A few clouds rolling through Glasgow right now. As we go throughout the next 12 hours, by 9 p.m., 47 degrees. Temperatures dropping down to 38 by 6 a.m. And overall, it's going to be a cold night. 38 degrees in Great Falls and around 28 in Bozeman. And we can expect some areas of frost across Montana. We'll talk about that later. Keely?
Things grand beginning tonight in Ponderay County, where Conrad Public School officials say campus will be closed following several positive COVID-19 tests. The district will close Monday and Tuesday to prepare for a 2-week transition to online learning for all students. A press release says there is considerable work to do to investigate the outbreak of cases, and current recommendations are to transition to remote learning over the 2 weeks. A tentative return to school date has been set for October 12th. We have reached out to Conrad Public Schools officials and will update you as we learn more. Well, Blackfeet tribal officials say they'll initiate a reservation-wide shutdown beginning Monday at 11:59 p.m. that will last for 2 weeks. The action comes as health leaders deal with a high number of COVID-19 cases. The shutdown was originally set to take place tonight at 11:59, but Tribal Business Council officials moved it back 24 hours to give leaders more time to prepare for the next 2 weeks. Officials told MTN News Friday the goal of the shutdown is to reduce the amount of non-essential gatherings, which have contributed to a spike in coronavirus cases over the past 2 weeks. As of Saturday afternoon, there were 112 confirmed cases on the reservation and a few hundred residents quarantined. The virus has also spread to the Blackfeet Care Center. And continuing our coverage of an issue affecting community funding around the state, the 2020 census count will continue past the end of September. A federal judge ruled the original finish date of October 31st should be reinstated. Last month, the Commerce Secretary moved the deadline, citing concerns over safety with COVID-19. Several civil rights groups sued, saying the shortened count would lead to a more inaccurate count. The census plays a key role in the way funding is allocated to states and communities. And the new deadline is a win for groups that are trying to get more people counted, but even despite the extra time, Native Americans in Montana face an uphill battle. Montana has 8 census-designated reservations with 1 month until the census deadline. 7 of them still have a self-response rate under 40%. There are challenges that these areas face every year, those being limited access to the internet and transportation, to name a few. But the American Indian and Alaskan Native populations are also being disproportionately affected by the pandemic. Western Native Voice Executive Director Marcy McLean says part of the reason is the resources available to people living on reservations.
If you think about our mortality rates, our health disparities, and lack of access to health care in our communities, oftentimes people won't go to seek medical care because it's not something that we have a luxury of being accustomed to.
And you can fill out the census by calling 1-844-330-2020 or by going online to mycensus.gov. We'll have more from Montana's reservations tonight at 10. Moving now to court news, a federal judge is expected to rule on TikTok later today. At issue, the Trump administration's push to ban TikTok downloads. A hearing is set to take place just hours before the restrictions are set to take effect. It could determine whether consumers can continue to access the popular video platform in their smartphone app stores. The ban was supposed to start this past Sunday. Officials postponed it for a week after President Trump tentatively approved a deal aimed at addressing his national security concerns. TikTok has sued to prevent the ban. On Friday, the government submitted a sealed response opposing that request. Well, a busy and critical week ahead as the battle for the open seat on the U.S. Supreme Court heats up. President Trump's pick is angering top Democrats, while Republicans continue to voice their support. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is criticizing the move and urging the Senate not to act on the nomination. Britt Conway has the latest.
Adding fuel to the already heated Supreme Court debate. On Sunday, Joe Biden criticized President Trump and the Republican-led Senate for moving too fast with the nomination.
The Senate has to stand strong for our democracy. They must not act on this nomination until the American people finish the process they're already begun of selecting their president and their Congress.
It comes one day after President Trump unveiled conservative federal appeals court judge Amy Coney Barrett as his pick to replace the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
A vote for Amy Coney Barrett is a vote to decimate the health care that so many Americans need.
That move has angered top Democrats, who say the nomination could lead to the repeal of the Affordable Health Care Act, also known as Obamacare, when the case goes before the justices.
That is why he was in such a hurry, so he could have someone in place for the oral arguments, which begin November 10th.
In a tweet on Sunday, President Trump said if the court struck down the ACA, it would be a, quote, big win for the country. And the White House says GOP leaders are ready to deliver a quick nomination.
We've been in conversations with Leader McConnell, with Chairman Graham. He is going to put forth a pretty aggressive schedule for hearings and markups that we believe will happen in the middle part of October.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
And in a new ruling Friday, a federal judge prohibited William Perry Penley from serving as acting director of the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. That ruling was issued in a decision regarding a lawsuit filed by Governor Steve Bullock and the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation over the summer. Now, according to the ruling from U.S. District Court of Montana Chief District Judge Brian Morris, Penley unlawfully served as BLM acting director for 424 days. Judge Morris sided with the plaintiffs, Bullock and the DNRC, and said Penley's actions had a harmful effect on environmental, economic, and regulatory interests in Montana. The BLM oversees 245 million acres of public land in the U.S. 27 million of those acres are here in Montana. Both parties have 10 days to file briefs regarding which of Penley's orders should be vacated. Coming up next on the 5:30 News, a first event of its kind raised funds for a rural fire department. That story just ahead.
I can't express how much I appreciate every single thing that St. Jude has done. You never know when you could be that determining factor to save the next child's life. 1 million thank yous wouldn't be enough.
China's lies caused the pandemic, and American workers have paid the price. President Trump is fighting back, but weak politicians like Steve Bullock want to stop him. Bullock's ready to vote for the largest tax increase in American history, sending more American jobs to China. Steve Bullock doesn't have the guts to stand up for American workers, but Steve Daines does. Daines is fighting to bring our jobs home where they belong.
I'm Steve Daines, and I approve this message.
But you're a bad nightmare.
He doesn't understand what's happening to him.
Oh my God.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
Welcome back to the 5:30 News. The Oddfellow Inn hosted a weekend of activities to benefit the Lewis and Clark rural firefighters. MTN's Alexia Guayo shows us Saturday's event, the Harvestival.
What you're looking at is the bird's eye fire that could have done lots of damage if it weren't for firefighters saving the Oddfellow Inn. So the Oddfellow decided to thank them in a big way.
We wouldn't be standing today if it wasn't for them, and we realize that, and we're grateful.
Oddfellow showed their gratitude with an event that included farm tours, pumpkin carving, food, drinks, games, live band, and let's not forget about the dunk tank. The Oddfellow Inn held their first annual Harvest Festival, an event to celebrate the efforts of Lewis and Clark rural firefighters in the 600-acre Bird's Eye Fire. One owner says a simple thank you just wasn't enough.
So we really just wanted to do something instead of just saying thank you, but it's really just such an important time for us as our community to come together and help support these people who keep us safe.
Due to COVID restrictions, Harvest Festival was only allowed to have a max of 250 people, but they sold out. Among those who attended were the firefighters themselves. Kai Bauer, one of the first volunteer firefighters to respond to the Bird's Eye Fire and one of the first to get dunked in the tank, says this event represents what he loves about community.
I just thought that was an awesome way. They're extremely grateful that of all the first responders, they're able to respond to the Bird's Eye Fire, and this is their way of giving back and supporting it. So it's just very, it's cyclical, and it's what I love about community.
Saturday's Harvest Festival is not the only fundraising event. Oddfellow hosted a dinner Friday and hosted a brunch Sunday, all in hopes to raise $10,000 to the Lewis and Clark Rural Fire Services. In Helena, I'm Alexi Aguayo, MTN News.
Thanks, Alexi. And Oddfellows Inn is still taking donations online. A link to that page posted on our websites. Coming up tonight in our Montana Ag Network report, we focus in on an upcoming symposium that discusses the link between pulse crops and dog food and heart disease in some canines. The FDA's Center for Veterinary Medicine has been investigating the causes of canine diluted cardiomyopathy. Excuse me on that one, or let's just abbreviate that to DCM. The investigation has been part of significant interest to the food pet industry, pet owners, and its supply chain, which includes farmers like Gordon Stoner.
The pulse industry is funding a 6-month study looking at diet and the impact. Every indication, the early analysis of those studies suggests that DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy, is a very complex disease and most likely cannot be attributed to any one factor. But I don't want to get ahead of the science, but we within the industry are very confident that the research will show that FDA's position is unsubstantiated.
Now, Montana Senators Jon Tester and Steve Daines have joined other senators from pulse-producing states in sending a letter to FDA Commissioner Stephen Hahn about urgent transparency regarding their study on the possible linkage between grain-free diets and canine DCM. We'll have the full story in our Montana Ag Network report coming up tonight at 10.
Well, we are definitely going to need to bundle up for the bus stop forecast tomorrow. Don't go away. Your 7-day forecast is coming up next.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Grant Garland.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you have had a great weekend. It's definitely been a weekend where we've seen below average temperatures. I mean, take, for example, right now, Cut Bank 59 degrees in Helena, and the lower 60s, Malta, lower 60s as well, and Lewistown, upper 50s, around 58 degrees, but blue skies all throughout, just a few clouds out towards Malta, and just 1 or 2 in Helena. Temperatures right now elsewhere, 56 in Lewistown again, 62 in Great Falls. Out towards Jordan, seeing the same temperature, and 64 in Glasgow. Now the average for this time of year is right around 66 degrees for us here in Great Falls, so yeah, we're well below that. The record set back in 1963 when it was 91 degrees. That was the same year that a loaf of bread was right around 22 cents. I know, the more you know, right? Well, it's been another windy day across the Treasure State. We saw 48 mile-per-hour winds gusting in Glasgow, 45 in Jordan, 26 in Lewistown, and 32 in Billings. So when you add in the temperatures that aren't really that bad, and then you add in the winds, well, we are seeing dry conditions, 22% in Great Falls, 26 in Havre, on down towards Billings, 21%. Over the last 3 hours, we have been looking at clouds breaking apart, especially for those down towards Butte and Bozeman throughout the day. Looking at a few cloud cover for those south of Lewistown and around west of Billings. As we go throughout the day tomorrow, we are expecting for a windy day for those along the Rocky Mountain front. So could be looking at 10 to 20, some 25 to 30 mile-per-hour winds. But for the most of us, it will be 10 to 20 mile-an-hour winds. And we have a high pressure to thank for that. As we go throughout the next several days, throughout the next several hours, tomorrow, driest time will be for us around 25%. in Great Falls. And we're going to be looking at our friends in Helena being the driest right around the 5 o'clock corridor, where we're seeing 27% humidity. And again, high pressure is the whole reason for this. We're looking at drying out as well as our temperatures starting to warm up. We do see a cold front, though, that starts to make its way into the area late Monday night into Tuesday morning. That's not going to bring us any rain, so I don't want you to get your hopes up for that, but it will drop our temperatures down, so heads up, we are expecting that. Now, temperatures tonight are going to be dropping down to 28 in Bozeman, 34 in Helena, 39 in Billings, and 34 in Lewistown. So expect wide patches of frost around the area. As we go throughout the next several days, though, temperatures do warm up. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for Wednesday and Thursday. By Friday, 75 degrees with partly sunny skies. And we're looking at the same situation for our friends in Helena, too, where we're looking at warmer temperatures on Tuesday, but that cold front drops in from the north, bringing us down to 69. Keely, back to you.
Thanks, Grant. Coming up next on the 5:30 news, details on an initiative that aims to help Montanans struggling with thoughts of suicide. That story and more health headlines next.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
And welcome back. Well, men are 4 more times likely to die by suicide than women here in the U.S. Many of them are working-aged men. That's a staggering statistic by Man Therapy, a nonprofit organization. One Montana woman who lost her father by suicide started an initiative called Ask in Earnest to advocate to rural Montana communities. Here's MTN's Phoenix O'Connor with more.
According to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, white males accounted for nearly 70% of suicide deaths in 2018. Dick Tyler is a multi-generational Montanan.
A textbook Montana farmer, hardworking person who liked to laugh. He always enjoyed hearing a good story, and he always liked telling good stories. He was a good storyteller.
Darla Tyler McSherry is describing her father, who died by suicide in 2016. Many times, it's the loved ones picking up the pieces and may end up themselves at a higher risk for suicide.
I think many people who've lost loved ones to suicide struggle with guilt, and I'm one of them. We know what we know at the time, and we do our best that we can do at that time.
The agricultural lifestyle also presents challenges. She said compared to other careers or jobs, those who work the land can't go home from the job.
And farmers and ranchers don't have that, so that can just really compound things because they can look out the window and always see several to-do projects.
The lack of access to health care, including mental health care in rural parts of the state, and isolation can create additional stress.
Since 1999, in the United States, the U.S. has had a 25% increase in suicide. And here in Montana, we've had a 38% increase.
McSherry is giving back to her rural Montana community, starting an initiative called Ask in Earnest. The name stems from memories her father's friends shared of him.
He would stop and he would ask in earnest how you are doing. And he wasn't doing it to be nosy or gossipy. He just genuinely cared about how you and your family were doing.
Part of asking in earnest is asking that simple question, how are you doing? That could help give someone that's struggling hope.
With the information that we know about farmers and ranchers being more at risk for suicide, we have the potential to save lives.
For MTN News, I'm Phoenix O'Connor.
Thanks, Phoenix. And continuing our health headlines tonight, the FDA issuing a warning over the use of Benadryl. This comes as a number of teens have been hospitalized after taking part in the Benadryl challenge on TikTok. The FDA says taking too much Benadryl can lead to issues like seizures and heart problems. It can also be fatal. The FDA is asking TikTok to take down any videos of people taking part in the challenge. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Well, as we go throughout the night, heads up, temperatures will fall down to below or close to freezing. 35 degrees in Great Falls, 34 in Lewistown, 28 in Bozeman, and around 33 in Hayes. So bringing those sensitive plants, we are looking at temperatures around 72 degrees for Cutbank, as well as Great Falls tomorrow, 70 in Helena and 69 in Glasgow. Also, we are expecting temperatures, well, to warm up on Tuesday to 79 degrees before falling down to 65, all thanks to a cold front that drops down from Canada, but it does not bring us any rain. And that's the same situation for our friends in Helena, too. Except seeing a few more days of more sun than clouds, we will be looking at partly sunny skies on Friday.
Thanks, Grant. Well, if this kitten seems familiar, you might be a fan of The Mandalorian. Rescuers who saved her from a California wildfire say she looks a lot like Baby Yoda. The little cutie is 2 or 3 weeks old. Firefighters found her in the middle of the road near the North Complex fire. Her rescuers brought her to an animal shelter that named her Baby Yoda to match her appearance. Aw, I know, like, I'm a huge fan of The Mandalorian. I don't know about you, Grant.
Yeah, I am.
can see it's too
Baby
hairy
Yoda, it's
for
the
Baby
child.
Yoda, though, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
the
Baby
child.
Yoda kind of like fleshy and.
It
He's got,
definitely
like, a
has
few
the point the Yoda ears.
Yeah.
It's got the child's ears.
Yeah.
This is the way.
I think you need to call up that shelter. Pongo needs a playmate. So.
Pongo does,
Yeah.
but
just
I don't
in time
know.
for the new season too.
I know. Well, my wallet, it needs a little more. I can't do that.
We'll make it happen, right?
Okay.
Oh man, we'll try and like start a little GoFundMe page. I don't know. That's all the time we have tonight at 5:30. We'll be back here at 10 for your latest news and weather. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your night. Be safe.